Hi, this is Mark at learnhowtogarden.com, and in today's episode of the 10-Minute Gardener we're going to talk about salads. I know I go on and on about growing salads in sort of your backyard, especially if you've only got a small space like the 10-Minute Garden, but I honestly believe they're one of the best returns on your time and your money that you can make if it's a small space. Also, they give you a really quick and fast return. And what we're going to chat about today is growing salad in containers. Now, these two containers here were both planted about 4 or 5 weeks ago, and it's just to show you how quickly you can get a return. And the other reason for doing this is that if you've got a patio and you're plagued with slugs or snails, it's one of the ways that you can sort of plant and it gives you much more control over them. So the first thing we need is a container, so we'll just get one of those. Now, I like to use terracotta or pot or clay containers for the simple reason that if they're on your patio or your balcony, you're going to look at them and they just aesthetically are much more pleasing. But I also believe that they are possibly slightly healthier for plants to grow in for a longer period of time. The clay breathes, therefore you get more air through your soil, and they're slightly harder to overwater. This is a container that we had knocking about. The first thing I want you to notice is just sort of here, there are two what appear to be quite shiny bands. Now, they're two bands of copper wire that we've wired onto this container. There is a theory, and a lot of people prescribe to this, that slugs or snails, when they try to cross these two, once they touch both, they get a minute electric charge. And it's a scientifically proven fact, and it will stop them. So just by wiring two tiny bits of copper wire around your pot, it saves all that, having to decide whether you're going to use slug pellets or not. And obviously the least chemicals we can use, the better. Slug pellets are quite bad for our wildlife, certainly this time of the year when we've got a lot of small birds that are fledging, they can sort of kill things quite quickly. So container, we're basically using a multi-purpose compost. The reason we're using multi-purpose is it's slightly lighter than soil based, it has all the nutrients we need. So we just need to top that up, and we need it sort of about 1 centimetre away from the top. When you're buying sort of multi-purpose compost, go for the best one you can. You don't use a huge amount of compost, so you're better not to sort of scrimp too much. Don't do what I've heard a lot of people say, which is you can use grow bags. It really doesn't have the same nutrients and they're much harder to wet. And try and get a compost that has what's called a wetting agent. One of the most difficult things with multi-purpose compost is keeping it wet all the time. And into a container this size, which is about just over 1 foot across, we're going to plant just 3 lettuce. Now, these are ones that we basically sowed in our little Jiffy 7s about 4 weeks ago. And literally, what we're going to do is put them in like a triangle. Now, don't be tempted to put more than this in. This pot here only has 3 lettuce in. These are a mixture of black-seeded Simpson and I think this one is Red Fire. Obviously you can see from the ends. And as you can see, very quickly these will take up the space. If you put too many in, none of them will grow particularly well. So once we've got our 3 in, and if you haven't got any lettuce started off, you can buy lettuce from a lot of places now, from your local nursery, even your local sort of DIY chain. Water very gently. We're going to pop that on the patio of the 10-Minute Garden. We're going to leave it for a couple of weeks. There'll be enough food in this compost for 2 weeks, and then we're going to give it a very weak feed with our liquid fertiliser. We make our own, as you know. We use either comfrey or nettles or seaweed. But you can get, you can buy proprietary brands of that. Don't be tempted to overfeed it. You're better to sort of grow it slowly and you'll get much more taste. Overfeeding it, we go back to this thing, all you're going to do is force growth into it, and force growth will be very weak and have very little taste. And one of the main reasons that we're growing this on our patio is for taste and the fact that we're going to control it and we're going to put no chemicals on it. Like I say, this is what you can achieve very quickly. This is a Mizuna, which is a very mild leaf vegetable that originally was Japanese. A lot of people quite like that. This is red frills mustard, gives you a slightly pepperier taste, and this is a chicory that's looking quite sad because we're sitting out here in the sun, surprisingly, for May. If you wonder why we're doing this outside at this wonderful Gaze Burville table, it's quite simple. We still have our robin nesting in our potting shed, although I do think that the chicks are about to fledge, so we'll be able to do some work back in the potting shed fairly soon. So what we're saying is that in a very, very short space of time, you know, you can get these wonderful salads on your patio, and don't overfeed them. Certainly don't spray them with fertiliser. You're not going to need to use any chemical controls for slug damage, so you're going to get really healthy, really, really tasty salad crops really, really quickly. I hope that's been helpful for you. Any comments, please post them on our website. Any questions you've got, please ask and I'll try to answer them. And until the next video blog, thanks a lot for watching. Bye.